episode 341. Sal Nuzzo joined us in the Economic War Room to explain the threat of Chinese control of rare earth minerals. We have good news. We have an update. To explain, I've invited Rod Martin back to the Economic War Room. Rod's a great friend, but he's also the founder and CEO of Martin Capital. He's a technology entrepreneur, investor, and futurist from Destin, Florida. Fox Business calls him a tech guru. Gawker once labeled him a brilliant nonconformist, while Britain's Guardian describes him as a philosopher capitalist. Blaze TV has named him one of America's leading public intellectuals. Welcome, Rod, back to the Economic War Room.
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah, it's always good to have you. Hey, I want to talk today about something you wrote on rare earth minerals, and you can find it at rodmartin.org. What are rare earth minerals and why do we need them?
Well, as the name suggests, they're kind of rare, but not in the sense of there not being a lot of them, in the sense of being much rarer an element than hydrogen or oxygen or iron. And they are trace elements in a lot of mining operations, so they're kind of hard to refine. You can have a coal mine that's just full of rare earths, but the fraction that is rare earths is incredibly small. Now, why do you care? Well, you care because they're absolutely essential to a modern economy, to the production of literally everything from an F-35 to an iPhone. And you just can't function without it. And the United States has done a singularly horrible job on this exact national security issue because we've effectively outsourced all of the refining of these things to China. Now, a lot of the production too. China produces about 60 to 70% of the rare earths that are produced anywhere in the world. That's dumb because, honestly, the United States could easily produce enough to supply 85% of the entire world's needs. They also control, and this is the true bottleneck, 92% of the rare earths refining. So those magnets that have to go all through the systems in an F-35, we have to buy them from China, and that's insane. So China is using that advantage against us. Donald Trump is diversifying the supply chain so that we are no longer under that vulnerability. And a lot of interesting things are happening.
Well, I know this. I mean, when I was working with the people in the Pentagon back during the Obama administration, they didn't want to discuss this at all. We trust China. China is our friend. They're our supplier. And in fact, they were enacting legislation that would prevent us from actually accessing our rare earth minerals. They did it. Certainly, there's rare earth in coal ash, quite a bit of it in coal ash, by the way. And they said, well, we'll eliminate all coal burning entirely here in America. And then they were saying no mining, no refining, no building of refineries, all of that under Obama. And then, of course, Trump comes in, and all of a sudden we realize these are important. It's the modern economy, so we have to develop them. But then under Biden, we went right back to the old Obama policies. Is that happenstance? Is that, like I said in the book, according to plan, is that just by accident, or is it according to plan?
It is according to plan. Like everything else that's a part of the Green New scam, all of this serves the interests of China, and it serves other foreign interests as well, but no one's so much as the CCPs. And they spend an awful lot of money over here to make sure that they get their way. There's been a lot of talk about Israeli influence in American politics. Don't talk to me about that until you address China. Oh my goodness, they spend more money to lobby our people and to influence the outcome of our elections than most of their competitors put together. So yes, this has absolutely helped China. Now, for the unsuspecting on our side, this is an expression of the neglect of national security that we've seen in American public life, certainly since the Cold War, but even before that, which is that a lot of Americans just believe that the bottom line is the bottom line. They just believe if we can source this stuff more cheaply somewhere else, we should do that because it's good for our economy and blah, blah, blah. Well, I would dispute that it's always the best thing for our economy, even if you didn't have nation states with armies and air forces, but in fact you do. And some of our libertarian friends just basically deny something between the existence and the legitimacy of nation states. But I'm sorry, it doesn't really matter what the philosophical position is. They exist. They have interests that are not purely financial, and they use these things as weapons when you give them the opportunity to do so. So we actually have the capability to produce 85% of the world's entire need for rare earth elements. We have allies that have lots of big deposits too. The main thing we're lacking is refining and will, and Donald Trump has the will to create the refining.
You know, what you just said is our tagline. What we see as a marketplace, our enemies view as a battle space. So we're thinking it's a free market around the world. They're thinking this is a way that we can cripple and control the United States of America. Now, will the need, I mean, as we expand modern technology, will the need for rare earths disappear because we found some substitute that we can create? Or are we going to continue to need these the more technologically advanced we become?
We're going to need them. We may replace some of them along the way. That's always possible, but that's not going to help us, in the next week or two, or year or two. So this is a crucial issue now. I think it will continue to be a crucial issue. Where it dissipates, of course, is in the extension of U.S. supply and allied supply, Ukraine, Australia, Greenland, Congo, those things are underway. Thank you, Donald Trump. But also, as we start developing space, we're going to have virtually unlimited amounts of this stuff with no environmental baggage whatsoever.
So basically what you're saying is this is going to be an issue for the next few years that we've got to get past. But with the policies Trump is putting in place and with the exploration of space, this may never again be an issue because we will have such abundance of these so-called rare earth minerals. They're not that rare, they're not confined to Earth, but they're definitely minerals. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And the truth of the matter is, once you solve this problem, it probably stays solved. So it's a short-term danger. It's probably not a long-term danger if we act expeditiously.
And that's good news. We've got more good news when we come back right after this break. We'll be right back. In uncertain times, finding stability in the economy can feel challenging. But what if you could navigate economic volatility while honoring your biblical values? At Timothy Plan, they believe this balance is possible. Timothy Plan filters its volatility-weighted ETFs and family of mutual funds through a biblical pro-life and pro-family lens, so you can see competitive returns and moral responsibility, helping you to weather the economic storms. With Timothy Plan, align your investments with your values while adapting to our ever-changing culture. Since 1994, Timothy Plan has been recognized leader in biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, your bridge between faith, finances, and the future. Visit timothyplan.com or call 1-800-TIM-PLAN or 1-800-846-7526. Investing includes risk, including possible loss of principal. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at timothyplan.com.
Gold holds its value far better than the US dollar. Let's see what happens when I go in this sweet shop and pay with gold. Can I pay with gold?
I mean, you can wait, find out how much it costs.
Do you know what? Basically, do you know why I'm even using gold?
I do not.
It holds its value over time, but it's a bit difficult to spend, isn't it? Do you take this?
Yes.
That's MasterCard. Yeah, but this is. I'm actually going to pay with gold, believe it or not. Using this. That's my MasterCard, and it's linked to my gold wallet. So let's just watch that. Authorizing. Yeah, add a tip.
Thank you.
So this is your store?
Yes, sir.
And how much gold did I pay?
0.2243 grams.
Yeah, success. Bought with gold, paid with glitz.
We're speaking with the great Rod Martin. You can learn more from rodmartin.org, where you can follow his Substack. You also should follow him on X. He's just been blowing up on X recently. But we're talking today about rare earth minerals. My question kind of peels from the last segment. Does China have a natural monopoly, because they are monopolizing rare earths at the moment? Do they have a natural monopoly on rare earth minerals?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, these things are, as I said, rare in the sense that they are far, far rarer in the Earth's crust than iron. They are not rare. These things are all over the world, and particularly in the United States, where we can supply 85% of the world's needs. We really, really could. Additionally, big deposits in Ukraine, which Donald Trump made a key feature of any peace deal, big deposits in Greenland, big deposits in the Congo, which was a focus of his negotiating the peace deal between Congo and Rwanda. And of course, Australia, a crucial U.S. ally. And Australia is also a good candidate to have significant processing capacity if their government will just get out of the way. So we can solve this problem in the long run. And of course, to the degree there are environmental concerns, okay, that's fair. But technology has progressed a lot since we largely shut down our rare earths production in this country 40 years ago. So there's no need to really worry about that in the short term. And in the long term, you take it off world, and you're doing this on asteroids and the moon, and there are no environmental ramifications at all.
All right, one nation you did not mention, but has been in the headlines a lot. And in fact, I was just with Glenn Beck, whose Mercury One funded a private humanitarian withdrawal from the nation of Afghanistan. And we were told Afghanistan's got all of these rare earth minerals, and somehow we've just left them, along with a lot of equipment, a lot of blood and treasure, to the Chinese. But I recently read where you're talking about maybe China's found it a little more difficult than they first thought.
Well, as a matter of fact, we have deep dives up this week on both the new Afghanistan-Pakistan war, of all crazy things, and we even have a cool picture at the top of that of a Pakistani plane bombing Kabul, which is just absurd, but it's also a cool picture. And we've also got a deep dive up right now on this rare earth situation, and specifically, what is the Trump administration doing to solve the problem? Now, Afghanistan has China everything. It's absolutely one of those places that ought to be one of the richest countries in the world, except the people who live there ensure that that's not true. And so, basically what has happened is kind of shocking, in that I think we all thought when Biden handed Afghanistan to the Taliban, he was effectively handing it to China. And I think that's ultimately going to prove true, but it hasn't so far for this reason. The Chinese have assessed that it's basically impossible to deal with the Taliban, that they're just a bunch of brigands and thugs. They don't keep their word. There's no way to have a binding contract with them. And the only way you're ever going to sort it is some kind of occupation. We see how well that worked for the United States and for the Soviet Union. So they don't want to do that. But this attack by Afghanistan, which has been unfolding over the last 2 weeks on Pakistan, is aimed, not entirely, but largely at forcing China to the table to give them money. And here's the play. Pakistan is possibly the key Chinese ally. They jointly develop a lot of technology, like the J-10 fighter, which we saw in combat with India a few months ago. They are the most crucial Belt and Road recipient. And basically what China's trying to do there is create a modern-day Burma road so that they can bypass the U.S. Navy's control of the Straits of Lombok and Sunda and Malacca and just go straight to the Middle East and other places. Well, the Taliban is threatening that in a really big way. And Why are they doing that? Why are they kidnapping Chinese engineers? Why are they doing all these things? Again, they want to force the Chinese into a position where they sit down at the table, mediate between Pakistan and Afghanistan, and part of the price of peace is that Chinese investment into Afghanistan that we always thought was coming. My guess is that'll be successful, but we'll see.
You know, it just floors me, the whole notion of the Taliban attacking Pakistan. I mean, that just seems so absurd given the last 25, 30 years of history. And yet that seems to be the case. And I think that there's no better explanation than what you've just shared. They're trying to provoke China to deal with them, and China is not all that keen on dealing with them. It's an interesting thing to watch. What should we be looking for with the Taliban in Pakistan? What would be the signs of something that we should notice?
Well, the Taliban has options, and this is lost, I'm sure, on even some of the people who are paying attention to this conflict that nobody's paying attention to, because we're all looking at Gaza and Ukraine. But yeah, the truth is, in the middle of this conflict, you've got the Taliban's foreign minister in New Delhi. You know, if India suddenly cut a deal with Afghanistan, that flanks China's ally in Pakistan, and it greatly endangers that modern day Burma road. So that's a problem for them, and it would be a boon for India other than having to deal with the Taliban. They could also cut a deal with us. And you heard Trump talk about taking back Bagram Air Base. That's part of this. You know, we would really like for Afghanistan not to be in Chinese orbit. And if they did flank Pakistan, it would be positive as long as it's not the way it is currently, because that gives us a lot of incentive for Pakistan to be more a U.S. ally than a Chinese ally. But the big danger everybody's got to keep in mind is that the Taliban has just riddled the Pakistan's intelligence service, its army, you know, all kinds of key institutions in Pakistani life. They could theoretically overthrow the Pakistani government and end up running a real country with 250 million people and 200 nuclear weapons and the ability to deliver them. That would be a global catastrophe.
That absolutely would be a global catastrophe, and that's something we need to watch very carefully. All right, we're talking with the great Rod Martin. We're going to have to take a break, Rod. When we come back, though, I want to talk about investment opportunities that may be made possible from rare earth minerals. We'll be right back after this break.
Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government, and freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It has to be fought for and defended by each generation.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness.
In this most critical time in our nation's history, now more than ever, Americans need to align with companies that support our constitutional rights and God-given freedoms. Patriot Mobile supports your values and provides exceptional 100% U.S.-based customer service. Join the movement today. Go to patriotmobile.com or call 972-PATRIOT.
I'm outside Babe's, which I'm told is the quintessential chicken restaurant here in Roanoke, Texas. Let's go and see if we can buy the food in here, chicken with gold.
This is gonna be the fried chicken.
This is unbelievable. How am I going to fit all this in? I seriously actually don't know how to begin with this. This is so overwhelming. Do you think I can pay with gold?
I don't know. You may have to ask the cashier. I don't handle it.
Can I pay with gold? But actually, you said I could pay with this? Okay, I'm gonna pay with this, but I'm gonna pay with gold. So look at the price of gold going up. That's pretty cool, yeah? Right, this is Babes, yeah? How much gold did I pay? Gold, how many grams?
0.26.
0.26, quarter of a gram of gold. How about that?
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah. Success! Bought with gold, paid with glint.
In our last segment, we were talking with Rod Martin about a potential looming Afghanistan-Pakistan war, something that nobody had on their radar screen, and most people still don't have it. If you're not getting that kind of deep analysis, you need to subscribe to rodmartin.org. You need to go there and keep up with him on X. He's got 275,000 followers or more. It grows every day following him. This is the kind of insight that you can only get from the Economic War Room and Rod Martin. So, Rod, that was an amazing analysis of what's going on. And the threat of a nuclear-powered Afghanistan with the Taliban is just shocking to me, and it's out of Chinese control. So we got to watch that carefully. But let's go to good news on this one. We've got President Trump. He's focused on rare earths. He sees they're a big part of the American technological future. Are there investment opportunities that people could look to here in the United States or among our allies where they could invest and take advantage of the need for critical rare earths?
Oh, absolutely. And of course, none of this constitutes investment advice. It's just information. But there are several companies that stand out. They're almost all publicly traded, and there are two that really, really stick out at the top of the pile. So the first of those is MP Materials, which everybody's heard about recently. I don't know if they remember that they've heard about it. MP Materials got a big investment, about $500 million from the War Department, because we call it the War Department now, which is awesome. And also another $500 million from Apple. And what they have is, it's MP Materials. The MP stands for Mountain Pass, or the Mountain Pass mine in California. Mountain Pass is capable of producing more than 100% of all the U.S. demand for rare earth oxides. Not rare earth elements as a whole, but rare earth oxides, which is a really, really key subset of the whole. What they aren't able to do is meet that total need. But the truth is, as I keep saying, the U.S. has the materials. What they lack is the processing. So one of the things that all that investment is going into is not actually the Mountain Pass mine, but the relatively new Independence facility in Fort Worth, where you live, Kevin. And the Independence facility currently produces about 1,000 tons of rare earths-based magnets that are essential for everything, especially the F-35, and other advanced weaponry. They produce about 1,000 tons of those finished products every year, and they are on track with this new investment to triple that over the next 2 to 5 years. So we'll see how fast they can move. I think they're going to move pretty quickly. The problem is that would still only be 30% of the U.S. need. So I would look at some other companies like Ramaco Resources. They just opened the first U.S. rare earth elements mine, the first new one in over 70 years, the Brook Mine in Wyoming, and they're building processing on site. That's going to be a really big deal. They're on the NASDAQ. MP Materials is on the New York Stock Exchange. And there are other players like U.S. Rare Earths, Energy Fuels, American Rare Earths, Neocorp Developments, Ucore Rare Metals, Idaho Strategic Resources. All these guys are good. They're worth a look. But those top two are key.
Well, and there are a couple of ETFs, VanEck Rare Earth and Strategic Metals ETF, REMX, and Sprott Critical Materials ETF, SETM, are the ticker symbols for those. How about outside the United States? I know you've listed some countries. Do you have any ideas or companies that could be invested? Not China. We don't want any China, but outside the United States. I see Aluka Resources, Arafura Rare Earths, Macongo Resources, Ucore Rare Metals, and Neocorp Developments Limited. Do you have any thoughts on any of those?
Yeah, I think you've named the most important ones. And You know, look, Australia has tremendous potential. They're just a wealth of resources of virtually all kinds, and it's a safe country. Your investment isn't going to get blown up. So anything to do with Australia is good. We're going to have to get to an actual peace in Ukraine for that to be good, and that's probably going to have to be developed with government money. And I'm not thrilled with that, at least initially, not in the long term. And I don't think that the War Department is going to continue to hold that stake in MP materials either. I think they're going to let it ride for a little while and then they're going to sell it. But, you know, Greenland is the outlier. You know, we talked about the Congo, but Greenland has a shocking amount of stuff, including 10% of the world's total rare earths. And there's a reason Donald Trump is somewhat fixated on it. That's not the main reason, but it's a big one. So anybody who wants to play in Greenland, I'd take that seriously with the caveat that there are going to be significant environmental concerns there that you don't have in the other geographies just described. And they're going to have to really be on the ball about that, or they're going to run afoul of Danish and EU regs and potentially EPA regs if Greenland ends up a territory.
Yeah, well, you said it right, Rod. You need to ask your investment advisor. We're not giving financial advice here. Speaking of investment advisors, you've been helpful and instrumental, really, in helping us launch the NSIC, National Security Investment Consultant Institute. I mean, that's where you can find a financial advisor studying these things, hearing from great people like Rod Martin on how do we invest to promote liberty, security, and values. Any comments on the NSIC?
Oh, goodness, yes. Everybody needs to sign up for that. If you're a financial advisor, you have an audience that is overwhelmingly interested in these issues. You just may not know it yet. But Kevin's got some great polling on this. It's unbelievable how pro-American a lot of your customers are. And so they want to invest in things that align with that LSV agenda, liberty, security, values, not ESG and other Marxist anti-American strategies. And, you know, there's no way for you to know what to do without getting the kind of training that Kevin provides at the NSIC.
You can learn more at nsic.org. Thank you, Rod Martin. You've been spectacular. How do people follow your work? 5 seconds.
rodmartin.org. That's the place to come. And while you're there, sign up for my X.
All right, we're going to summarize all this in our free economic battle plan. You can get a copy at economicwarroom.com. Remember, what we see as a marketplace, our enemies view as a battle space. It's Kevin Freeman from the Economic War Room.